Hi everyone, thank you for tuning in. Today I'm going to make a cottage house planter using small ice cream containers. What I'm doing right here is going to be the roof, and I'm using a corrugated cardboard, the type you find for packaging. Just had a sheet laying around, thought it was cool, thought I'd hang on to it, I could use it for something, right? And I'm tracing out a half moon shape. I already made a pattern for this, so I wanted to try it out, make sure it worked first. And just simply a half moon that I'm going to roll into the shape of a cone. So there's the plastic ice cream container, which, by the way, that ice cream is really, really, really good. But I do have two of those containers. I'm going to leave the lid on that one. And once I finally roll the cardboard into shape, it was not cooperating with me, which is funny because the first one I did went perfectly, and then this one it must have known that it was being recorded or something. But I'll just simply hot glue the slack over there so it holds that shape as best as it can. And then once that's all dried, I glue it right to the top there. Like I said, this one has a lid. I'm keeping the lid on, and I'm just gonna smother it in hot glue and pop that right on there. So that, of course, is going to be the cottage house once I get it all fixed up. And then the other one without the lid is going to be the planter. But because of the roof, I can't butt them up next to each other so that I can glue them together. So I need to cut down the planter part of it. And I'm sure you could probably use like an X-Acto knife or a utility knife. I found this Dremel tool, and it cut it so easily. So I'm using my little Dremel tool here, just following the traced line and popping that top right off. And now I'm not going to glue them together right away because I want to paint them both. But before I start the painting, I took some hot glue, and I'm going to draw on there with the hot glue some windows and doors. Just one door. But you can add as many doors as you want, or whatever you want on the house. So I'm just putting 2 windows up top, and then there's going to be a door in the middle. And below the top windows, I'm doing just a half of a window because I will be putting a small planter in front of the window. And you'll see once I get to it. It's kind of hard to explain right now. But I did outline with a red magic marker where I'm going to be hot gluing. I'll gotta switch up the hot glue there. It was hard to see on video, so I just cut that out. Easier to see with the hot glue. But once again, just going through. And in my mind, the door is going to have rocks around it. I'll just paint those in, but I want to give that shape, just kind of a bumpy shape, and then of course giving a smooth wooden door there. Once the hot glue dries, going through and painting both the planter part and the house part. And I'm using a chalk paint that I just got. The colors in the chalk paint are so fun. I just love them. You can kind of see in the background the next colors I'm going to be using, kind of like a colonial blue and some stone colors, a gray, and kind of a beige tone back there. But this is an off-white chalk paint. I've never worked with chalk paint before, and it's really nice because it covers pretty well. That's one coat on both of those. The only thing is I could see any glue strings left over that I didn't want there. So it's kind of important to make sure that you clean up any strings of hot glue that might have strung across the house there. Just using an acrylic brown on the roof. I suppose you could use a black or even like a copper color if you want a copper roof. Once that dries and I can easily handle it, I'm going to go through and trim up the window trims. I'm adding a little bit of color. Like I said, this set of chalk paint was so much fun. So I got this colonial blue Actually, it's kind of like a seafoam blue. I also had a mossy green color too, that I used on another one. But I am really digging these colors. So I'm going to go through and just paint on top of the hot glue there, so that it stands out. And of course, going over the door and bringing down the same color as the roof. Try to tie everything together. And since I had that brown out, I did mention putting little planters in front of those bottom windows. I'm using some small pieces of that corrugated cardboard. I'm going to paint them the same color as the roof. And then I can wash off my paintbrush and set those aside so they can dry. And then I want to fill in, first I'm going to outline the door and the stones. But I do want to fill in the windows a little bit darker to try to give it some depth. But with the stones, as I mentioned before, I have kind of a light sand color, a stone color, kind of grayish tone, just real earth colors. Just putting dots of paint all around the door, various sizes, overstacking them every which way, just to outline that entrance there. I also went through and just put a few dots throughout the house. Maybe it's a stone house and some of the stones have lost their paint and are popping through. To tie it into the planter, I went ahead and added a few dots to the planter as well. Just want to make it look a little bit more uniform so that they go together. And now I'm using the black to darken up the windows, as I mentioned before, trying to give it that depth in there. And I suppose you can decorate the cottage any way you want. You can put as many windows as you want, as many doors as you want. Maybe add a chimney, shutters. It's endless. Decorate it however you want. You could probably paint little shrubs on there too. And then once I have these all darkened in, I set them aside to let them dry. And then I went ahead and attached the little planter boxes to those lower windows there. Just give the sides a small fold so that it sticks out a little bit, and a little hot glue, and we'll put those right on. And I ended up adding some green moss into the little shutter, or the little planter baskets. You could probably put in little tiny flowers, or maybe a little ribbon on there, whatever you want. I just didn't have any tiny flowers. But once everything's all glued together and dried, I'm going to glue the planter to the house. And I'm using that E6000, I think it is, glue, but I'm also adding some hot glue. I apologize, I didn't do that on film there, so that it holds immediately. And then once that's together, there it is. You can fill it however you want. Here I just made a small topiary, added some flowers to it, some greenery. You can put in a regular plant. You can even just put candies. It's endless. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed.